Does everybody know what time it is?
Home Impodcast time!
That's right, Binford Tools is proud to present a Home Improvement Podcast. My name is Adam, and you all know my co-host, Jordan. Good day, Jordan.
Good day, Adam. I wrote you a little something.
Oh, no. Why?
Well, sometimes just when I think of you and our relationship, I just get poetic, so I thought I would write you something.
This is not planned, so I'm a little worried about what you're going to do. We can always, if this is Grandpa related, then I am not interested. Then you'll have to edit it out.
Not Grandpa related at all.
Okay.
But
all right. Yeah.
You ready? Are you ready for this?
Sure, Jordan, go on. I mean, I'm in charge of opening banter this week, so I'm a little put off by this, but I'll try to come in with an open mind.
Well, right before we started recording, you said, "Hey, I need some help." So here we go.
All right, here we go.
Roses are red. Violets are blue, sugar is sweet, but nothing compares to you.
Wow, that was super nice. And you know what? This episode will come out around the end of February, so it'll seem especially timely when it hits. But yeah, that was really nice to you.
That's an Easter egg for people who want to know when we record our episodes.
Yeah, the sleuth listeners will really have to dive in deep to figure out exactly what day we recorded this on. And then, hey, if you know, tweeted us for a special prize.
Ooh, I can't wait to hear what people have to think about when we record it. Anyways, I guess you're in charge of opening banter, so I'll let you have the reins back.
Jordan, that was definitely worth doing, so I appreciate that. I want to talk a little bit about a newer television show to hit the waves of Hulu. Specifically, this show debuted February 8th, 2019, so that is not that long ago, man. The name of the show is Pen 15, which of course spells out penis, and it is on Hulu, and it has a Home Improvement star on the show, so I had to tune in, I had to check it out to see what it was all about.
I assume that it's now pinned to your shows or whatever they call it on Hulu.
I mean, it's showing. Kirsten wondered what it was doing up there, and I was like, "Yeah, I had to watch it for the podcast." And she was like, "Yeah, sure, the podcast." But no, Richard Karn is in this show, Pen 15, which I'll describe the premise, and then I'll talk about the episode I watched. Pen 15 is described as, quote, middle school as it really happened. Erskine and Conkle play versions of themselves as 13-year-old outcasts in the year 2000, surrounded by actual 13-year-olds, where the best day of your life can turn into the worst stroke. The worst with the stroke of a gel pen. Wow. Best day of your life can turn into the worst stroke you've ever had.
I was going to say, wow, that's pretty vicious. I'm surprised you did not want to do this for the bonus Home Improvement After Dark episode for this month, but...
Yeah, you know what? We still probably can. He's in 2, as far as I can tell. Richard Karn is in 2. So it's possible. We do need to figure that out off the air.
So who else is in the show? I've never heard of this. Obviously, they're not having a big marketing push or anything on TV, so...
Well, it's on Hulu, so, I mean, I guess, does Hulu do... I guess Handmaid's Tale would do commercials on basic cable like they did during the Super Bowl. Maya Erskine, Anna Conkle, Sam Ziebelman... not especially recognizable. I had seen one of them, I can't remember which one, on a show called Casual, which was also on Hulu. And that is Maya Erskine, and she's the showrunner. But the show's pretty funny. It's these like 30-year-old women that are acting like themselves as 13-year-olds, which doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't probably sound that funny, but like when they're in the classroom and they're like interacting with 13-year-old boys and like flirting and stuff, it actually is kind of funny. I can't imagine that working with a gender reversal necessarily on television, but in this case, it's fairly funny. But yeah, Richard Karn is in this. He plays the titular Maya Ishii Peters' father, Fred Peters.
Wow.
So yeah, and it's I watched the first episode he's in, which I think was episode 4, and he plays a musician who's often traveling. He looks great, Jordan. He's got long hair. Rocker type, kind of living out of a hotel room, probably as the real Richard Karn does as he travels for plays, you can imagine.
Absolutely.
The daughter, Maya, she is interested. She's trying to be a drummer like her father, and the whole episode kind of culminates in this big talent show wherein he comes back from leaving the road, comes back from the road to see her perform, and let's just say the talent show doesn't go as planned, but it was pretty funny, and the Karn Man is, it's not a Home Improvement caricature necessarily. He's playing a real character. He's playing a father. He had kind of a couple of emotional scenes with his daughter. It's a meaty, kind of nice role for him. And yeah, like I said, he's not doing like a Al Borland kind of, or like a Richard Karn like riff. Like he was on, what's that, Detroiters before it got canceled. He was kind of just playing like Richard Karn, and that was sort of the joke, which is fine, but it's cool to see him play something a little more substantial, and that is Fred
know
Peters.
he's got the chops to do it, so we'd like to see him flexing his muscles a little bit. I am surprised he did not let us know about this. Didn't we ask him about upcoming projects?
He might not have known. I mean, that's been a long time ago at this point. And
rub it in, Adam.
I mean, we haven't talked to RK in a while. He might not have even filmed it at that point. I don't know. I'd love to have him back to talk about it, but it's cool. If you want to watch a show if you have Hulu and you want to watch a show with a Home Improvement alum doing good work, I recommend the episode. I don't know that I'll watch more episodes. Unless I have to for the podcast, but I liked what I saw, and I think for a certain person it could be an enjoyable show. So that's Pen 15 on Hulu.
Yeah, you don't get a better ringing endorsement than that. For some people, it would work.
For some people, it would work. It works well enough for me, but like I don't know. I'm not going to keep watching it.
I guess it's one of those shows where like awkwardness plays a big factor. I would imagine because it's teenagers.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and like I said, the whole joke is like they're women in a sea of like 13-year-olds, and like they're acting like 13-year-olds, so they're throwing tantrums and stuff. And yeah, it's good. It's well acted. So
it really brought you back, huh?
Yeah, man, it was blast from the past. I mean, I was 10 in the year 2000, so I guess not too far off from 13. So yeah, the fashion was recognizable, and as were the gel pens and cultural touchstones, to be sure. Gel pens,
oh man.
I remember when I was in 4th grade, we didn't go to the same elementary school, so I don't know if this was happening at yours, but perhaps it was because it's a small town.
It's not like we lived in like New York City or something. And...
hey, Gates versus Seipel, it's a whole different ballgame. But at Seipel, out in the cornfields, people were sucking the gel out of their gel pens, and it was like a school-wide epidemic.
All right, well, yep, I don't think that was happening at Gates. So.
Not that you're aware of, but they had to like send a note home and stuff. It was...
Maybe I sucked so much gel out of the pen myself that I didn't really know what was going on.
It's possible. Yeah, I just remember that's a memory from right around the year 2000. People sucking gel out of gel pens, and they'd have the black stuff on their tongues and so on. It's
it's disgusting.
Kids are eating Tide Pods now, so it's not like things have gone. We're not too far off from where we were back then. But kids say the darndest things, and they also eat the darndest things.
Oh, and that's the perfect way to end our intro to Pen 15, and we're gonna move on to the darndest episode, if you ask me.
Oh man, it's so funny.
Episode 122, The Longest Day. This one's written by Elliot Schoenman and Marley Sims. They last did The Look. This one aired on April 2nd, 1996. Were they trying to go...
It's not an April Fool's joke.
I was going to say, were they trying to go for an April Fool's joke? Because they missed.
Oh man, yeah, they did.
Have you ever seen the movie called The Longest Day?
Is it a Western?
I don't know. I saw that there was one.
Good research. I don't think so. It sounds familiar if it's a Western, but I can't be sure.
It's a war movie.
Then no, I have not.
No. 3 hours long. 1962. 3 hours long.
They don't make them like they used to, huh?
I mean, they make them that long now.
Yeah, they do. Actually, every movie is 3 hours long now. That's.
Can you imagine a World War II movie that's rated G? Because this one is.
It's like Mickey Mouse in it or something? Is half of it like cartoon?
Well, I don't think so.
Rated G. They probably didn't have ratings back then.
Yeah, they maybe have changed as well. This one, I see a picture, I think, of Sean Connery. Let me check.
Wow.
Is this worth it?
Yeah.
John Wayne, Henry Fonda, Robert Mitchum, Sean Connery.
Wow, that's a star-studded cast. You gotta like Robert Mitchum. I mean, you gotta.
If you don't, you can get out.
You better get out. You don't like Robert Mitchum. That sounds like a good one. I'm not going to watch it because I don't like war movies, and I don't like 3-hour movies unless it's the Titanic. And I like that.
In that case, yes, please.
Yeah, I'm due for a Titanic rewatch. I think it's been... I think it was 1997 when I watched it last. So that
don't
was
you
when it came
dare!
out.
Don't you dare request we do that on a
For
Home
a bonus
Improvement.
episode. You think we could probably get an hour out of it?
Oh
sure.
my gosh!
All right, back to Longest Day,
trivia
Jordan.
notes. I think PR told us this, but she came up with the idea for the episode. This is the only episode as well where we see a Taylor kid cry.
That's shocking to me.
It is shocking to me. You would think
Why
at
aren't
some
why
point
aren't
Mark
these
would
kids-
just break down.
Well, why aren't these kids showing some emotions? I mean, jeez, oh, Pete's. Yeah, PR did mention that this was based off something that happened with her son, in fact. And if you want to hear more about that, go back and listen to the 2-part interview we did. Probably the best thing we've ever done. Definitely the most interesting.
I'd say. All right, alternative title time. How many do you have?
4, and you gotta say, kind of a tough week for it. I mean,
I know it's hard to be funny for this
Flippant,
episode.
yeah, I
but you
know.
know what? I tried, and I did 4 as well. But I know I reused one, but it was worth it.
Sure, go ahead.
So.
I'll let you start. Yeah.
All right. Hopefully you know this band. I bet you do. Mm-hmm. Arcade Crier.
Yeah. I that's a good one, and I do know the band.
Good. I was just
It would
making
be
sure.
bad if I didn't. Okay. A very special home improvement.
That's a good one. Doctor, give me the news.
You have used that one, and it's tasteless.
Oh, I haven't used. Well, first of all, yes, there's going to be very tasteless things going on in this episode.
All right, fine.
Second of all, that's not even the one that I thought I reused.
Oh,
so.
you've used that before. All right. This is based off a movie that surrounds a school shooter. So it's again, this is not funny stuff, but
Oh my gosh.
the title of the movie is "We Need to Talk About Randy," and that's based off "We Need to Talk About Kevin,"
All right.
which is a bummer of a movie. Don't watch it. It's probably a little bit funnier than this episode. Still,
Oh, boy.
No, I'm just kidding.
You can't handle the truth.
You've used that before.
Yeah,
certainly.
that's the other one.
Okay. All right. All right. Here's one. The milkman always rings twice.
The milkman cometh. I didn't even write that one
Quoting
down.
to hell. Yeah.
All right. My last one is secrets are no fun. Secrets hurt someone.
Bad week for you. Real bad. Last one for me. Happy eggiversary.
How dare you disparage me? And then
Sorry.
end on that.
I just felt like you didn't bring it, but that's okay. It's kind of a twitchy one.
Hey, at least I quoted The Office, so we got to be happy about that, right?
Yeah, we have to be happy about that.
You don't
Yeah.
have a choice. That's
No.
what our audience wants, based on one person's feedback.
An army of one, an audience of one. Yeah.
All right. I don't know. You want to walk through this, or you just want to skip it?
Well, you've seen it, and you know what happens. No, we can get through it. I have some notes here. So I watched it twice, and I took notes. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Otherwise,
All right.
that was for naught.
Yeah, we can't do that. All right. Well, open at home, which is different because we're usually opening at Tool Time. Tim comes in and spots a lemon meringue pie. I don't think I've ever had one of those myself, but
Not my kind of pie, frankly.
it looks appetizing though, or fake.
Doesn't I thought it looked plastic, but maybe that's just the look of the meringue. I don't dig these kind of pies though. No
Wait, you
thanks.
don't eat plastic?
Not anymore.
All right. Yeah, I don't know. Give me an apple pie every
Yeah,
day.
you're an all-American type. Baseball, apple pie,
Hot dogs, Applegate, Chevrolet.
Chevrolet, obviously, with their Michigan roots.
As I own 2 Toyotas.
Yeah, Jesus. Why don't you rebel a little bit more? Try to put my mom out of the job or something?
Yeah, I'm trying. All right, so Jill catches Tim before he dives into this pie. He claims he's just going to scratch himself with a fork. And keep that in mind because it's going to come back at the end of this scene. Boys are heading to the doctor for a routine checkup. Brad is trying to cut some time out of their visit because he can't go under pressure. So his grand idea is to pee in a yogurt cup.
Is this the grossest gag they've ever done on the show? I mean, like, actually, like, not like raunchy, but just like gross.
Yeah.
Like there's pee in a yogurt cup inside that bag he's holding. That's pretty nasty, right?
Yeah, and he doesn't have a top on it, I would imagine, because he opened the yogurt cup.
That means he just put the gross, like, plastic film on top of it again. It's just sort of sitting on top of it. Yeah, it's nasty.
Well, there is a joke in this scene later where Tim says, "Watch out for the speed bumps," and
I did not get that until the second time, so
Yeah.
I was glad I caught that. Yeah,
well, good, because the audience didn't really get it at all.
they didn't laugh, did they? Yeah, I guess it's a thinker, maybe,
And
in a way that a lot of Home Improvement jokes maybe aren't.
no, that was a curveball here. Tim is left behind as the family leaves, and he's left behind with the pie, and just as he's going to dive in, Jill yells at him from outside, and he again scratches himself with a utensil. And that's the end of the opening scene.
Indeed, it is. Yeah, and it's all down from there.
I gotta
go
say, I didn't think it was that bad. So,
the episode or the scene?
well, we'll get to the end, I guess, before we talk about that. At home later,
Yeah.
Tim's eating the whole pie.
Well, yeah, that was disappointing
Why was that disappointing?
because he wasn't supposed to.
Oh, well, he did leave the plastic top, so...
Which I have some questions about.
Well, it's one of those pies that's kind of like a door. It has hinges
Yeah,
and
it's weird. It has
stuff.
hinges on it. I was thinking that too. Yeah, that's weird. It would have been hard to do that. It's like coring an apple almost. Really impressive.
Yeah, way to go, Tim. He tries to cover his tracks as the family arrives home. They are a little bit later than they expected to be, which is why he was so hungry. Apparently, the doctor would not accept Brad's urine cup. Surprise there.
If you were a doctor and someone did that, oh man. I mean, I guess doctors are like predisposed to pretty strange things, I would suspect, but man, I don't know what you'd do.
I mean, you got to write that one down in a book somewhere, I think.
Yeah. Doctor's Follies, Volume 1.
Randy also had an extra blood test that he had to take. Apparently, he's been acting sleepy lately.
First I've heard of it.
Yeah. Well, I think every teenager is sleep deprived, so I'm surprised they had any concern.
You fell asleep chronically during classes in school.
All the time.
Seemed like it. Every time I looked over at you, you were snoring.
We didn't even really have any high school classes together, so...
A few.
But I was always sleeping.
I heard things from people.
That's what made my my grades so much more impressive. I was just sleeping the whole time.
I know, yeah, you literally sleep through school. Anyways, go on.
Alright, so Jill sends the boys upstairs and wants to talk to Tim about something serious. The doctor is concerned there's some swelling on Randy's neck, and there's lots of different possibilities of what it could be. It's a lump on the thyroid gland. Jill, is, trying to explain it all to Tim right now, and he's not going to get everything. It's medicalese to him. Mm-hmm. And he says she said it's almost always benign, and he thinks that means it's cancerous.
How many times has that joke been done in the history of, film and television? The benign malignant joke, man, I bet not a lot of TV shows have not tried that joke.
It's low-hanging fruit, I would say.
It really is. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's good or bad necessarily, but man, that is quite a trope at this point.
Yep. And they do move on. It gets a little more serious. There could be cancer here that changes the mood and really the whole episode so far, because before this, just a lot of jokes. A lot of jokes.
She says hypothyroidism, and then it's a weird scene because she's acting very upset and he's acting concerned, but there's also these one-liners kind of interspersed, what is he called? Hypothyroidism. He says
Hypothymaster.
Yeah, that. I mean, that's a Home Improvement joke to be sure, but it's just weird in this scene because, and I mean, I guess the big thing that we don't hear cancer until the last scene. They very pointedly don't say cancer throughout this episode, and probably for good reason, I guess. But yeah, they're trying very hard not to say that, but they're kind of talking around all this, and yeah, the jokes are just kind of it's just a little awkward. I don't know how you navigate that better, but it's just weird because it's Home Improvement. It's talking about something serious, which we seldom, if ever, have seen. So.
I guess the wild thing to me is they wanted to do both at the same time.
Pick one.
Yeah, I actually didn't mind the way that it went, to be honest. I think I don't know. I thought the jokes made it. I didn't think they were trying to make it super duper serious. I think Jill wanted it to be super duper serious, but everyone else on that show did not necessarily. That's what it looks like to me. So
yeah, she is playing it very, very straight throughout the episode, which I guess is a choice. I don't know.
Yeah, but no one else, I don't know. I mean, there are some jokes that she has, but let's keep going.
Okay.
There's a joke about goiters as well. I think that's probably, you talk about the low-hanging fruit of the benign thing. I feel like goiter is another one, but maybe not.
You've heard a lot of goiter jokes, have you?
I feel like that's something I've heard several times, but maybe that's something I was dreaming about in high school.
Maybe your own doctors talked to you about it.
Randy doesn't know anything about what's going on, and Jill starts to recount like the exact situation and starts to break down, as a mother would in this situation. Mm-hmm. And we find out that we're going to have to wait about 24 hours to find out what happened. The results of the blood test have to come back. Brad comes down as they're embracing, and they try to like break the mood. They don't want their kids to know anything about what's going on. Which is a bit strange. I don't know.
That's my question. I understand Mark and Brad being kept out of the loop, but is what they try to do with Randy, is that the right move? I mean, I know it's certainly complex, and you don't want to scare him, but
you want to see how this choice plays out for them, and then we'll decide.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, definitely. I guess that's what we should do. But yeah, I don't know. We can talk about it at the end. All right, next scene. It's breakfast, and Tim's going to work. Jill is surprised Tim's going to work. She doesn't think she could work under these circumstances, but Tim wants to keep himself busy. I think that's a pretty understandable thing. Mm-hmm. Jill's going to make Randy's favorite. She's cooking up some silver dollar pancakes, a big breakfast. Tim said that's too obvious. They're going to know something's up because, she's a terrible cook. She's a terrible cook, and apparently she doesn't cook much for breakfast. Brad enters, and much like he was skeptical at the end of the last scene, he's pretty skeptical about this breakfast, and they try to explain it away. They used laundry in the last scene, and they try to
do it again too.
They do it again with laundry here, and they try to say it was their anniversary, but Brad very aptly knows that their anniversary was 2 months ago, so that couldn't work out. And they said it's their anniversary of when they ate eggs. And probably the only laugh I got in this episode was Brad's kind of reaction, where he sort of just like puts his arms up and he's like, "Well, hey, congratulations!" and walks out. I think it's a well acted scene. His movements are pretty funny.
Yeah, he won't buy like the fabric softener stuff, but he buys the eggiversary.
Well, hey, happy anniversary! After he leaves, Jill's like, "You know what? This is too obvious," and she's frantic. She's obviously like very, very worried.
Frazzled.
She throws all the food away. Randy walks in, sees her throwing away silver dollar pancakes, and he's like, "What the heck?
WTF, mate?"
WTF, that's what he says. Around the same time, Tim, there's just a lot of like miscommunication, sort of back and forth. But Tim is going to take Randy to breakfast instead, and then they're going to go to the arcade, and don't even worry about school. And Jill agrees with it, and Randy says, "This is so strange. You guys, it's almost like I'm going to die or something."
That line I actually laughed at twice.
You laughed at that twice?
I thought that was funny. I didn't see it coming, I guess, and so I thought it was funny. Really? You and I have different sense of humor. I'm morbid, apparently.
Evidently. But anyways, they don't know how to respond to that necessarily, at which point Randy is tipped off, and Jill has to sort of confess that... she doesn't confess everything, but she tells him about the situation with the doctor and the thyroid. And Tim has a joke here about like everything being small. Like he's trying to minimize the fear for Randy. So he's like a very small operation, a very small operation, a very small pill, a very small doctor, and it kind of goes on. And it's funny. Again, it's just like it's just a tough kind of tightrope to walk. But at the end of the scene, He's not feeling so good about things anymore, and he's decided that he would like to go to school rather than the breakfast and arcade that they're dangling in front of him. So. Yeah,
you didn't like the goiter joke here, huh?
Goiter, what is it? Tigers ate goiter, Yankee goiter.
He says just a goiter, it's nothing, and then Randy says, "Why don't they call it nothing?" And he said, "Well, they're not exactly the same. You couldn't say Tigers ate, Yankees goiter."
I did not like that. No,
I did like that too. I actually like this episode.
Did you smoke a joint before you watched this or something?
Well, I sucked on some gel pens.
Oh, that's what it was. Therein lies the truth. All right, I'll let you pick this up since you love this episode so much.
Love it. Top 10 episode of all time at Time backstage, Tim asks Heidi if anyone is called. He's done this about 3 times, and he deflects. He doesn't want to share any of this with his coworkers. Al comes by, and he can't hold it in anymore. He says, that was a terrible performance by you. What was going on? Tim says he slept bad, and Al picks up, was it the Polish food? Which I liked, because that was a callback to the Home Improvement After Dark when they get Polish food.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And then Al says he basically won't let it go.
Yeah.
And to the point where Tim's like, okay, I'll tell you. But he tells a fib, and he says Jill's having an affair with the milkman. The milkman cometh, and...
I gotta say, I understand why Tim doesn't want to let Al in on this kind of family secret, but him talking about the milkman and the affair, doesn't he know he's just creating more problems than...
He panics.
Did he panic? I don't know. And it just seems like it's... maybe he's not thinking about the long term with that necessarily, but Al is shocked, frankly.
Very shocked. We're going to hear from him a few times in this episode. So we move on to the next scene. We're back at home. Jill is waiting outside, and you got to love the camera work in this scene, don't you?
Oh, man. Silhouette of Wilson's face. Turn up.
Turn up. So I guess, is this where we're playing a clip, or do we play a clip later?
I think we should wait. I don't know.
I think we got to do the arcade.
Okay, this is not a great clip anyway. So, what we do here is they're talking. Jill has a funny line where she's like, Randy has to deal with all the trouble. Asthma, allergies, colic. It's like, those aren't that bad.
You were imagining it was me in that place, weren't you?
I mean, okay. I mean, I know you're obviously very troubled. But, if we're comparing cancer to asthma and allergies, which, a lot of people have, I don't know. It just seemed like a weird sort of analogy.
And Randy picks up on it later, and I was wondering, that's perhaps the strangest thing for me that happens in this episode.
Yeah, they really view him as the victim, and it's like, I think you have problems that 90% of kids have. 50? I don't know. Anyways, we flash back to Home Improvement loves doing this. We flash back to the first time that Tim and Wilson met. And you know what? Both actors look shockingly like they do in current day.
Wilson specifically, I think.
Wilson specifically. Tim is out there with very young Randy, who just won't stop crying. And
he's got colic.
Yeah, and I don't know what that is, I guess.
Well, it's a problem for a lot of babies, and that makes them very fussy, and they have trouble sleeping, which, it makes sense here. So he's walking him outside. He's doing everything that he can to get him to stop. Wilson's up late. He was feeding the pet octopus, and so we're introduced to a lot of the same things that these characters do every time they meet. Tim makes a grunting noise, and Wilson's like, "What the heck was that?"
Yeah,
and Wilson says, "Heidi ho," and Tim's like, "What is that?" So they do a couple things there. Wilson has a concoction that he's been making for the colic here, and it's a ginger root juice that you put on their stomach. It works right away.
I'd kind of like somebody to put it on my stomach. It sounds nice.
Well, you're gonna have to ask nicely, and maybe. So, I guess I was kind of surprised that they used a real baby here.
I mean, I'm glad they did. That never works out when they don't.
No, I was hoping it'd be a fake baby, but it is a real baby, and you can tell that they had to overdub a lot of stuff here because the baby was crying. So the audio sounds a little bit strange, but they figure it out and make it work. And, Wilson says, feel free to stop by anytime and chat. And Tim leaves with saying, I'm kind of a private guy. So,
yeah. Do you like that stuff? Do you like it when these are just I don't know, it's low-hanging fruit in terms of the gags, but setting up the characters are, view themselves as being differently than we view them in a current landscape. Is that funny to you?
This didn't work as much to me in the episode as much as I think all the other jokes that were going on in the first few scenes do. But I don't think it's bad necessarily.
Yeah.
But they do move back to the present. And the things that I don't really like about this episode are the Randy, is poor troubled Randy, and Jill talks about how lucky their family has been and stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't feel like that's the thing you would actually be thinking about right now. But anyways, she says Tim has survived over 200 accidents, and Wilson says, I thought that would have been more. There's a lot of sweeping camera shots here too, which is just different. You don't see that very much.
Yeah, I don't know. It's it does view differently in this episode. I don't know if it's because they're trying to do something more dramatic, but Yeah, they are. It's not very conventional, like from a not filmmaking, but like a production standpoint. Like even in the last scene, like the camera angles are sort of unique. But yeah, they I don't know. I guess they're just trying to give it a different feel. Maybe
they're pulling out all the stops here. Jill, as you can expect, feels helpless. One phone call can change everything.
Indeed, it can. Next scene. Brad comes home, and he's alone. Randy didn't meet him where he was supposed to after school, which panics Tim and Jill. Jill has... I'll say that for a second. Tim says Tim kind of immediately knows where he's at, so he takes off. Jill stays there in case the doctor calls, at which point the phone rings. Not the doctor, it's Al to talk about the affair, which is when Tim told him that, he should have expected there was going to be repercussions, but Jill gets him off the line, and we head to the next scene.
And this is it. This is where we're going to play a clip. The most important clip in the history of Home Improvement.
I mean, get out your handkerchiefs, everybody. That's all I'm saying.
Handkerchiefs.
Hey, Randy.
What are you doing here?
Looking for you. Mom and I are worried about you. You know better than to take off without telling us where you're going.
Then we're even.
What do you mean?
A couple little things you didn't tell me either, Dad.
What are you talking about?
Like I might have cancer.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Where did you get that information?
Off the computer at school. Said that sometimes these kind of lumps can be malignant.
Randy, look, the chances of this lump being malignant are next to nothing.
How could you not tell me about this?
Because I didn't want you freaking out, okay?
Oh, so instead I read about it on a computer sitting in the school library all by myself.
Hey, your mom and I, that's the last thing we wanted you to do. I'm really sorry about that, and she will be too, okay?
Why does this bad stuff always have to happen to me?
Well, bad stuff happens to everybody. Bad stuff happens to me all the time.
Yeah, but you cause it.
I know you're scared, I know how you feel.
No, you don't. I don't want to die, Dad.
Oh, come on, man, you're not gonna die. Even if you had cancer, which you do not have that, it's a treatable kind, okay? Huh? Well, hey, come on. We'll beat this thing, no matter what it is, I'm not letting anything happen to you.
So yeah, pretty emotional as we recap the scene here. They're at the arcade.
Sorry.
Yeah. I was going to talk because you seemed a little more choked up than I was.
Clapped, yeah.
Yeah. Randy's playing Hoop It Up. Personally, when I go to the arcade, I'm always looking for a basketball game.
I hope you don't, as a 29-year-old man, go to the arcade a lot, but we can talk about that later.
Hey, they got video game bars down here.
Oh, Dave and Buster's action.
No, not that. I hate Dave and Buster's.
Yeah, fun!
Randy is testy. He found out he might have cancer, and he found out from the computer. So
Finally drops the C word. I've been waiting for it the whole episode.
There it is. Yeah. How do you feel about it at this moment?
Well timed. Actually, I appreciate what they did with that in the episode. It hits a little bit harder. And, like him saying cancer for the first time adds a little bit more urgency and kind of, it would make sense in this scene that he would be upset because, he found out that he could have cancer alone at school on a computer, which would be a tough place to find out about it. Yeah.
Really brutal. And he's in the library, so he has to be quiet.
That's true. That's the worst part. Can't even say anything.
Can you imagine? He's like starts to cry in the library, says shh,
and the librarian's like, "Hey, your book's late."
Oh my god.
Yeah. Keep it rolling, buddy.
Oh man. All right. So yeah, as you said, he had to learn from the computer. Randy starts getting emotional. He cries a little bit here. He does that thing where we mentioned earlier, why does the bad stuff always happen to me? Tim says it happens to me all the time, and Randy says, yeah, but you caused it. So they're still trying to interplay like the sitcom nature with the serious episode here.
Yeah.
And he has the most I would say the hardest hitting line in the whole episode is when Randy says, "I don't want to die, Dad."
It hits. That's for sure. It hits.
Randy turns and hugs his dad.
What do you think of the emotional acting here by JTT?
I was impressed. You know, I don't think there were actual real tears. Like, we didn't see anything come down his face. But I like the way that he's playing it. And then, you know, it's tough when they do write, like, a joke in the middle of it. But that's kind of his character. He always is trying to make light of pretty much every situation somehow. Right. Yeah. So I think that worked. But, yeah, I was impressed by JTT here. I thought it was pretty good. What about you?
I agree. Yeah. I can't imagine the other kids pulling this off. So,
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense that they wrote this for him.
100%, yeah. Next scene, we are home playing Scrabble, just killing time, just trying to wait out the call. This rang true. This was a good scene, I thought. I can imagine a family doing this to kind of pass the time, wanting to be together, but also kind of keeping yourself preoccupied. You know, we get some Scrabble jokes here. Jill plays Lax. Tim tries to play X on top of it, X-Lax. You know, it's okay. Al calls again, wants to talk about the milkman affair. Jill gets him off the line. Phone rings again. This is very sitcom-y to me. Phone rings again. Jill's like, Al, I told you not to call. Obviously, it's not Al. It's actually the doctor. Jill takes the call. Tim and Randy stand in anticipation. We find out Jill very quickly relays that he does not have cancer. And they're all, you know, they do a big group hug. And it is hypothyroidism, so he'll have to take a pill. And all is well enough for now for Randy. It's a nice scene, I think. I think this scene is good. Yeah,
hugs all around, all that kind of stuff. And they move on. They go to eat dinner. I'm sure they are famished now that the worries are over. And Jill wants to linger for a moment here in the bedroom and just kind of...
she sure does.
And she wants to exhale. Another flashback here.
This is a montage, baby.
And it's Randy growing up to Louis Armstrong's Wonderful World.
Yeah.
And, you know, you got everything from baby, you know, the scene that they just showed for the first time in this episode earlier.
It's great to see that again. Yeah.
To other, you know, kids.
Other little kids playing Randy.
Yep. And then Randy, you know, a couple moments that we remember when he...
I was struck... by how little he was during those early... You just, like, forget we've been doing this this is season 5, we've been doing this for a couple of years. You forget how little JTT was when it started. When he's, like, tackling his dad and when he's dressed as Peter Pan, he's such a little guy. It's crazy.
Kids, they grow up so fast.
I mean, I really felt that. It was insane. In terms of this montage, I don't know. It's something. Jill's got a heck of a wig on. She's running around. Wig's barely staying on. I don't know. We can talk about it in highs and lows, but it's maybe laying it on a little thick for my taste, but we'll see what you thought. But it is roll credits fade to black, the longest day. Jordan, highs and lows.
So I actually like this one. Also, it's a nickel for your thoughts, but I actually like this episode. It sounds like more than you did. I think they did a pretty good job of balancing like humor and tension in this episode and kind of the seriousness. I don't feel like it was undermining it necessarily, but it still felt like a Home Improvement episode to me, if that makes any sense. I thought early on they loaded it up pretty heavy with a bunch of jokes to try to prepare everyone for this, and they actually... Whereas the last episode, we were talking about how like some of the punchlines were really bad and just really badly written. I thought Elliot and Marley did a really good job here writing these jokes. So they just were funnier to me. As I said, I laughed a few times. I liked JTT's scene. I thought he did well. I thought it felt authentic to me. The concern by Tim and Jill at points in this episode was authentic to me. Lows, I think the logistics. I mean, and this is a sitcom episode. Everything has to happen in one episode. The way that they did it, so some of it doesn't quite make sense. Like, I don't think you can, at the doctor's office, go from one doctor to another, like one to a like usually you have to make an appointment and wait a couple weeks or whatever. And I think I was trying to do a little bit more research to see like what people thought about this. I couldn't find a lot, but I did read about somebody who and I wish I remember their website, but they actually were going through like this same situation and actually was cancer, and they watched this and then wrote about it, and they were talking about, and this, they made a good point that I didn't think about, like they would not be able to tell if it's cancer or not from a blood test. They would have to take a biopsy. So so there wasn't, the logistics didn't quite make a whole bunch of sense, but to make it into one episode, you kind of have to use some license there. But I agree with you, like at the end, the flashback felt a little, or the montage felt a little like, I don't know, a little too much. I would have loved if they would just ended with that.
The song is fine.
Yeah. If they would have just ended with like the Scrabble scene almost.
Yeah.
I think that would have been better. So, but I did like it. I thought for biting off that kind of an episode, I think they did a pretty good job. But let me know what you think.
Let me ask you a couple questions before I get into my thoughts.
Okay.
First question, does this work better as a two-parter?
Yes.
Okay. Where do you leave off? You just you leave off where he doesn't come home from school or something?
Either that or like they answer the phone call.
Okay. All right.
But then I don't know what you do for the rest of the episode.
Yeah, okay.
So I guess it would have to be like he's missing. That would have to be the way it worked out with this.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it would be better or worse, but I'm kind of surprised they didn't do 2 episodes. Second question, we talked about this earlier, but like, were they doing right by Randy not telling him? That's
my other huge low.
Is that the right way to do that?
No, you definitely need to tell him.
Yeah, especially he's too old. Like if he was like 7 or 8 or something, I think maybe like whatever, he's too young to understand. But he's going to high school. He's doing high school classes. You don't have to tell me. I mean, don't play up the cancer a lot, but I think you have to keep
give him a realistic. Like as Tim tried to do at the end was like, hey, like it's very little chance, but like you don't want to withhold that from him, and he sees through it right away. I mean, Brad even sees through it initially. So
yeah, I think their kids are smarter than they realize.
Yeah, Mark is nowhere to be seen in this episode.
Just in the flashback.
Yeah, just in the flashback. So, all right. Any other questions you have for me?
No, that's it. Highs and lows. Yeah, I don't think I like this one as much as you did, but doesn't mean I disliked it. Highs. It's nice to see him try something new, and this is very, very different, deviating from the norm. Some of the jokes land better than others for me. I think I had a tougher time with the scenes wherein they're trying to deliver serious kind of messages, but it's also trying to get laughs. But sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think the last, I think the arcade and the Scrabble scene are very, very good Home Improvement kind of family scenes showing actual family life and how people would act and what a father, I'm not going to say should, but just these are good family situations and effective, and I think probably pretty well received at the time. So I liked those. It felt real, authentic, and so on. Montage I didn't like. I think that's just like little too much salt on the sandwich there, as they say. A little too much salt on the sandwich. Yeah, so that was a little bit too much for me. I don't know. The whole conceit, I guess, is I have a little trouble with, just like them not telling him. But I don't know if that's an episode flaw or that's just my own opinion that they should have maybe given him a little more information at the beginning. I don't know if that's the episode's fault, though. The stuff with Al is dumb. I think that's stupid. That doesn't really belong in this episode, but you want to get other characters in somehow.
Yeah. I almost thought he was going to tell Al.
I think it's probably better if he does. Like, what does he lose? Al's his best friend as far as we can tell. So I'm not sure why he didn't. I'm not sure that the milkman stuff does much for me. I guess probably the weirdest thing is just like, it feels like Patricia Richardson is playing this so serious. And the episode maybe isn't taking it as seriously as she is, like you said earlier. And that is just like a little bit of a weird dynamic to me. But it's a memorable episode. I wouldn't call it iconic, but I know that like this is a famous one because it is an example of them kind of deviating. So it's memorable, if nothing else.
There you go. Memorable, if nothing else. They're going to put that on their next box. DVD box.
That's all they should. All right.
So with that, we'll move on to Sean's social media corner. If you want to reach out to us, go to thehomeimpodcast.com. We're on Facebook and Twitter at Home Impodcast. If you'd like to support the show, you can go to your podcasting app or wherever you're listening. Maybe you're listening on YouTube, and leave us a review, give us some likes, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And if you'd like to support the show monetarily, you can do so by going to patreon.com/Home Impodcast. And there you will get special tidbits, most importantly, Home Improvement After Dark, as Adam is calling it now, which is our monthly bonus episode where we cover home improvement adjacent or non-home improvement adjacent material, such as the Condo Cast and Rush Hour and For Richer or Poorer and whatever else we do for February.
That's right.
Adam?
Jordan?
Poll results, please.
22 total votes this week. What's your highest bowling score ever? And Jordan, unfortunately, there wasn't anything below 50 on here, so you couldn't vote.
What do you think my actual highest score is?
I know what you would probably say. I don't know what it actually is. I'm going to guess that you probably are claiming you got like a 110 once.
I got a 140 once.
I cannot believe that for a second. Get out of here.
You know me to be a big fibber, so...
It's not a lie if you believe it. But
what about you? What's your highest?
221.
Oh,
big dog got to eat.
Flexing hard.
Flexing hard. All right. So, 14% said under 100. 18% said no. Well, I'll do it this way. 18% said 150 to 200. 27% said over 200. And 41% said between 100 and 150 is their highest bowling score ever. So, kind of a good mix.
Yeah. Sounds like a lot of people would beat me at bowling.
Yeah, well, you like we talked about a few episodes ago, you'd just be hamming it up for the ladies anyway, so what's it even matter?
I'm either, like, making food jokes or doing my grandpa voice.
Yeah, I just remember you just, like, dancing around the lane like it was, like, a music video or something. It's like, just stop dancing for a minute, okay?
It's very distracting to the
I don't know.
people.
Also, you do, like, bowling ball, like, testicle humor, which no one thought was funny at the time.
Well, then why'd you laugh?
Embarrassment. Also, this is vaguely interesting, but I posted a picture of this at the where I do my improv classes, Comedy Sports Milwaukee. There is a little Wilson that peeks up above the stage. It's kind of random, but yeah, there's nothing else like that really in the
world.
Nothing else in the space, but yeah, Wilson peeks up from behind the main stage, so had to take a picture.
Yeah, I did see that, and that is very strange. I just, I want to know what was going on when that was created, but maybe I don't, actually.
Yeah, I don't know either. By the time this episode comes out, my showcase will happen, so if I've left the podcast to join SNL or something, you'll know why.
Wow, I can't wait to hear about that, for sure.
You're not going to fly up for it?
Well, are you going to buy me tickets?
I'll go. Let's do a 20-80 split.
You doing the 80 and I'm doing the 20?
I'll pay for your ticket to get into the show because it's free. Jordan, do we have anything else we need to talk about here?
Nope, nothing in the mailbag, no new reviews. Although, it's getting kind of lonely in there. We'd love to hear from our audience.
I got to solicit some questions, and we got to get iTunes reviews. We got to get to 35. Once we get to 35, I don't even know if I'll ever ask again. I don't care after that, but I just want to get to 35.
So, if anything else, if you just want to shut Adam up, just leave us 2 more reviews.
Hard to imagine anyone wanting to do that.
Or being able to.
Yeah, seriously.
Adam, it's your turn for the question of the week. Good luck.
Yeah, fun one. Jeez. All right. Jordan, this episode is mostly about Randy having cancer, but it's a little bit about an arcade. So
a very small bit.
I want to ask you, maybe we've asked this before, but at this point,
if we have, I mean, I repeated two alternative titles, so
yeah, go back to the vault. Jordan, what's your favorite arcade game?
Oh, I have like 2 that I go to pretty reliably when I'm at the arcades. So yeah, like he's playing Hoop It Up. I like the ones with the actual like mini basketballs. Mm-hmm. I don't know what they call that. I don't know if there's an actual specific name or whatever, but it counts your score.
Papa Shot kind of thing?
Yeah, Papa Shot kind of thing.
Papa Shot! Hey, it's me, Papa Shot!
I remember going to Disney Quest when that was still around. That is no longer around. But my brother and I went and we played that like over and over and over again. It's one of those like 5-story arcades where you go in and you can just play whatever for just the entrance fee. So we just went in there and we played that over and over again for a long time. So that's a lot of fun. And then I also, another basketball themed one, the video game bar down here has an NBA Jam. Mm-hmm. and I go between that and NFL Blitz like it's my job. So
Hell
love
yeah.
those games. So what about you, Adam?
I didn't go to arcades very much.
I did when I was younger.
A ton growing up. Yeah, I mean, a little bit. But the street we live on, there's a video game bar at the end of the street.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's really close. So I've probably been there 3 or 4 times since I've moved here just because it's so close. And it's pretty cool. I don't know. It's also very popular because it's brand new, which is a little bit annoying when you're in there because you have to wait for games and whatnot. But I like Top Golf is probably my favorite.
Oh, yeah. Classic.
I like the NBA Jam game that you talked about. Man, those guys really get a lot of hang time in that game. The alley-oops are just like,
insane.
Man, you wonder if those guys are ever going to come down.
I mostly just hang out at the three-point line, you know?
That sounds like you. And I like good old-fashioned skee ball.
Yeah, skee ball's a good one, too.
Can't
I'm not
beat it.
very good at that, though.
That's because it's like bowling.
I know.
You just can't do that motion.
Surprise, surprise. The video game bar over here is pretty busy, too. It's right by Disney, so you get a lot of spillover traffic there. But
you get a lot of celebs there, like Goofy and Minnie and
yeah,
stuff.
Goofy's always playing
I
X-Men.
heard he closes the place down.
Yeah, they...
Go ahead. You were saying?
Sorry. Just like you, I don't like to wait for games and stuff, so I do go there like earlier. Anyway, I don't stay out late anyways, but so we'll go there. It only opens at, I want to say 4, so
Yeah. You get there at 4:01.
I'm kind of waiting outside, like waiting for them to get in.
You're kind of like pointing at your watch like 5 minutes early, like, hey, can you let me in a little earlier? They're like, no.
You laugh at me, but I get whatever games I want.
That's true. Yeah, you just run around in there with your tokens.
There's no tokens.
Oh, really? I suppose
No.
Place by Me does tokens.
Oh, so this place you pay $5 cover, and then you play as many games as you want.
That's good. See, I went to a place one time in Peoria, Illinois, which the reason I did this was because it's in Peoria, Illinois, where free games, no tokens, no cover. It was sweet.
Yeah, I mean,
But
$5.
You got to go to Peoria, though.
Yeah, that's
That's a problem for a lot of people.
That's the downfall. This one's right near Disney, so it's a little bit more attractive. But yeah, $5, you can't really beat that for just...
I mean, you
know?
can beat it. I just said how you can beat it. I just
No,
told you.
you lose because you have to go Peoria.
That's true. You have to. You're right. And that's gas money.
That's right. That's right. It's always the hidden cost that gets you. But
It's true.
Adam, you pulled a great question out from this episode. So.
Thanks, Jordan. What are we covering next week?
Next week is going to be Mr. Wilson's Opus.
Oh, man. Bummer. Sounds like a tough one. All right, well, if it's anything like Mr. Holland's Opus, then it's probably going to be pretty tall. But
Well, we'll find out. I think
put
the
our best
picture
foot
was
forward.
like Wilson behind like a bunch of books or something. So,
sounds sweet. I mean, I guess a Wilson-centric episode can't be too bad.
well, whatever happened to his girlfriend? That's what I'm wondering.
She'll be back.
Judith.
Maybe she won't be. I don't know. Jordan, thank you for joining me. Listeners, thank you for listening. And I guess I should say, take care.
Take care, everybody.